Alright guys, today I'm teaching you guys how to make a certain type of photos and how to edit it in Photoshop using this Aperture MC light, which I love. This is like one of my favorite lights now, and your camera. These photos are definitely inspired by a photographer that goes by the name of Calob Castellano. His Instagram is like _Calob. I'll link it down below, but you guys gotta check out his work. He's amazing, and I've done videos on photos like this in the past. I always gotta credit him because he definitely inspires me to make these kind of photos, and he's way better. Obviously, he's an amazing photographer and really good at Photoshop, but he inspires these photos. So I posted some of these before in the past on my Instagram, and usually a lot of people like them and comment and all that. So I wanted to make one from scratch today and show you how to do it from beginning to end and how you can accomplish this look. So let's get to it. Alright, so ideally you want to do this like outside towards sunset-ish time, or where it's not like super bright, because when you're using a light you want to be able to see the light on your subject's face. Since it's the middle of the day right now, I'm gonna do it in my room here, and I am kind of using control lighting. I'm using the Aperture 300D, but you can also accomplish this with ambient light in your room or wherever you're at, as long as it's not like crazy bright to where you can't see this. But yeah, ideally you get a better outcome when you're like outside in like around sunset time. We're gonna work with this right now. One other thing of this about this Aperture MC light, what you can do is basically, say we want to do the YouTube red color, you turn this light on and you go to the signup app, and there is a color picker option. So basically, say we want to do is get the YouTube color, the red from YouTube. We can pull it up on Google. You go into the app, the signup app, and then you go to color and then picker right here, color picker, and then you're gonna get this camera. So basically what you do is you go onto your image, you have your light on, and then you pick the color that you want, click pick up, and it changes it to that color, which is red. And there we go. That's the color we chose. And that's great for, like, you know, when you're doing photos like this, you want to try things out. If you want to get certain colors, if you're doing like something for product photography or anything like that, branding is essential on the lighting sometimes, so you can get that image. And then now you got YouTube red. So I'm thinking of doing something like this, like, or just kind of looking at it like, or you know, the ones that typically look cool too, it's like when you're interacting with the actual photo, so you can kind of be like this, like you see how the light hits your hand and your face, so it'll look real, because you can be going like this. And you know, I'm gonna move back in the frame a little and then just do this. Like, you can replace anything here and make it look red. Like, wow. Make sure you know you don't do this where you're covering your hand. You want to be able to replace this whole thing. So it's kind of, you could do something like this. So I'm gonna pause this video, take the photos real quick, and then I'll show you guys what I got. Another thing I didn't mention, ideally you want to take 2 photos of the same thing. You want to take the photo that you're going to use with the light, and you want to take a clean slate, which would be like the same exact framing but with nobody in it, or the same person but with just without the light, so that you can mask it in Photoshop after. You'll see what I mean. But you want to take 2 photos. Sometimes you can pull it off. I've done it before where you can pull it off, where you can just literally replace the light without having a clean slate. But it's always a safer bet to have a clean slate so that you can mask out whatever you need to in case content aware or whatever is not really working out, and you have a clean slate to use that and mask that in. So I'll show you guys what that is. Let's head into Photoshop. I brought in the photo that I chose, me looking like that, dirt. And then I have the clean slate, me looking like dirt. But that's what I'm talking about. So we have the photo that I'm actually going to use and the clean slate. So ideally you want to get the focus and everything the same as the actual picture for the clean slate. That way you can mask everything out. So this is, I'm going to show you guys one way that you can mask out this light right here. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take this photo, we're going to hit down here, create mask, layer mask. You want to get the brush tool and not use that brush. We'll use that later. And then you want to be able to, you see that? Oh my god, you guys, look at how easy that is. Alright, one thing I forgot to mention here is make sure that your color selectors are black and white, because that's what makes a difference when you're masking something out. Whether you're on black or white, it'll mask it out or mask it back in depending on those colors. So make sure your colors are black and white on the color selector. That's why the clean slate photo is so important, because it makes it so easy to do that. There is other ways of doing this, like content aware, but this is the easiest way. It's gonna give you less trouble because it's literally that easy. Of course, there's other situations where this might be a little harder, but in this situation, if you want to do something simple like this, this will work. So after looking at the photo, I was trying to make something like YouTube related. I kind of want to do something with the jellyfish, since I've seen a lot of people use jellyfish like that, and maybe that's something you want to try with your photos. So we're gonna switch it up from something YouTube related theme to a jellyfish, because why not? This is gonna look pretty dope. Again, I never really know how these photos are gonna come out, but I brought it in. That's the beauty of PNGs. They already, like, the background disappears and everything really fast. But even if they don't, you can do that in Photoshop as well. So what we wanna do is take that jellyfish after you framed it up, put it where you want it. You wanna make it a screen. When you wanna make things like glow and stuff, you wanna make it like a screen. So once you have it as a screen, you're gonna make a copy of that. This is the secret, you guys. This is the secret. Go into filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and you're gonna do a couple of different layers of this. So you want to start off with this around 40, bam, done. Go back to the original layer, make another copy of the original layer. Guess what you're gonna do? Filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and now you're gonna increase the blur on that one to like 100. And then guess what you're gonna do again? Original layer, copy that again, filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and you're gonna go a little crazy with this one, make it bigger. And there we go. Now right off the bat, we have a glowing jellyfish. It actually looks pretty sick. If that's kind of what you want, you just want one jellyfish, you can keep it that way. But we're gonna take this a little further. I'm gonna show you guys a little secret as well that I use in these photos. I'm gonna take all these right here, I'm gonna group them up into a folder, name it jellyfish. So now what I can do is I can make a copy of that folder. Now I have another jellyfish. So now I can move this other jellyfish, and that square is there, but it'll go away once you place it and press enter. And ideally you want to use different jellyfish and stuff, but moving the size of it and stuff will make it a little different. So we have that one there now. That's another jellyfish. Then you want to make another copy of that group, and then you want to be able to move that one, maybe make it a little smaller as well, move it around like it has babies or something. I might just actually look for another jellyfish photo just to change it up. So we got this other jellyfish here as well. See if I can get rid of the background. Pretty easy on this guy. So basically we're gonna do the same thing we did with the previous jellyfish. These guys are just gonna be smaller so they don't really like look too different, but we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna make it glow. All right, so we have a couple of jellyfish here. Maybe let's make one more copy of. All right, so this is one secret that I like to use a lot that makes your photos like this look a little more real. We're gonna use something called field blur. What this does is recreates the bokeh of a lens. So, you know, your face and whatever is closest to the lens would be in focus, and things in the back would be out of focus. So you want to create that depth of field with this. We're gonna go ahead and do that with one of these guys. Go with one of the smaller guys in the back, like that little guy right there. So what you want to do is you want to go into the original jellyfish layer you have there, go into filter, blur, field blur. So right here it's gonna tell you, you know, how much you want to blur it. So you kind of have to gauge it by the photo. If you want it in the back, you want to kind of match it to the blurriness of the background so it looks more natural, and it'll make it seem like it's farther back behind whatever's in front. So right there, I think that's pretty good. We can even give it some light bokeh, and I think that should be good right there. Maybe this guy over here we can blur out. There we go. You got some depth to this photo now. See, I want to do it with this guy right here as well. Sometimes you want to add just a little bit. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be super blurred out in the back. He's a little blurred out, which would be natural. And there we go. And you kind of gauge what you want to do with field blur. It's like magic, you guys. It literally works like magic. Alright, once you have your objects or your jellyfish in place, we're going to create a little more glow here. Create another layer, and you want to go into your brush tool, and then you go to your color selector, and you want to pick the color of whatever your object is. And then you want to make your brush pretty big, and you want to kind of just brush in some brightness. You know what I mean? Even onto your face maybe a little. So that looks like crazy right now. Go into your blend mode, and you want to make it into a soft light. And then you can kind of tone it down a little. You know, you want to bring it down, not make it look too crazy, but I think right about there is pretty good. So next thing you want to do is create another layer. And a lot of the things I see that someone like Calob, who this is obviously inspired by, they add these little specks into their photos to make it look like it's still like something magical, but it's real, but it's not. Like, it's these photos that are in between, like they're very obviously fake, but they look awesome and kind of hyper realistic. So they add these specks of like dust. There are some custom brushes here that are like specks, and you can kind of mess with them. And the same thing again, you make them like the same color, maybe even choose the color of your face or something, and create specks with that. See that right there? And there's another little secret you can use to this as well. You want to flip the brush so that the specks are a little different. Gives it a little sun. So these ones, you're gonna create a couple layers for this. If you want these ones up in front, you also want to add a little blur to them, because in real life they would be a little blurred out. So fill blur, you can add that to those. Bring the blur a little down. You don't want to make it too crazy, but bring the blur down on it a little bit, and it's going to give it a little bit more realistic feel, a little more realistic look to it. And then I'm going to add some towards the back. So I'm going to add another layer, and then we're going to add some in the back. So maybe like here, some down here, some over here. And we're going to add these. We're going to push these to the back by adding fill blur. And especially with these, you want to add the bokeh option back here with the light. And it's going to make them look like they're back there, like floating. It's weird. So you want to do like 3 layers, like one that's far in the back, one that's in the middle, and then one that's kind of up front. Looks like the jellyfish are just spilling gold dust everywhere, so that looks cool in my opinion, so that works. And then we're gonna add one more layer that's gonna be like the middle layer, which I'm gonna add it right here. I know they said this was gonna be basic, which is pretty simple. Like, if you guys are following along, I think it's pretty simple for the most part. So between Gaussian blur and fill blur, you guys, this is how these photos kind of come to life. They give it that realism. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot more ways of making this look more realistic. Some of you Photoshop pros out there are probably like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But this is how I created, this is how I accomplished this, and this is how I've learned it, and it works for me, you know. So I know there's gonna be better ways and people that are way better at this, but this is kind of a starting point, I guess, for me and for you if you're watching this, obviously. Now that we have our image, I'm gonna take this into Lightroom and give it its final look. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes the final look isn't even that same color, depending once I put on the preset that I have or the color grading that I'm gonna do. It can change, but that's where we give it its final like we give it that final oomph that's gonna make the photo dope. So now we have this in Lightroom. I'm just gonna cut out some of the dead space over here. There we go. So this might work. Obviously it looks crazy right now, but I have to adjust it, bring down some of that, bring out some of the shadows, control the whites. Didn't realize the camera cut off. Yeah, so here's the final image. So I brought in the photo to Lightroom. I don't know where it cut off, but I brought in the photo to Lightroom and I kind of slapped on one of my presets and started adjusting it to give it its final look. The more you practice it, the better you're gonna get at it, and you can start replacing backgrounds, skies, and all that. But this is the basic kind of way I wanted to teach you guys how to replace the light, and then how to put in an object like a jellyfish or something like that, and make something cool, you know. Possibilities are endless with this, and you can just, you know, you can make a lot of things. So I tried breaking it down as simply as I could. These projects sometimes can be very frustrating, creating and getting a final image, but once you get a final image and it looks really cool, then it's very fulfilling. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to keep watching, watch one of these 2 videos here. Don't be a butthole, and like and subscribe. Bye.